Today is Wednesday, October 11th. We're talking about the promise President Biden made to Israel as it prepares for a ground war. Also, one controversial congressman is facing new criminal charges while his colleagues vote on a new speaker today. Plus, we're talking about how scientists are working to create super chickens, why another state decided to sue TikTok, and what your chances are of winning a historic lottery jackpot. Those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. President Biden gave one of the most forceful, emotional speeches of his presidency this week. In a televised address from the White House, Biden called Hamas's attack on Israel pure, unadulterated evil. He spoke about some of the specific atrocities, like those happening to Israeli women and children, even babies. And instead of calling for de-escalation, Biden said Israel has a duty to respond. He called Hamas a terrorist organization whose very purpose is to kill Jewish people. And he made it clear Hamas does not stand for the rights of Palestinians and uses them as human shields instead. Then Biden promised the U.S. would not allow Israel to run out of ammunition or other defense systems. And he called on Congress to pass more emergency military assistance for Israel. Reports have called this the most powerful statement of support for Israel by a sitting U.S. president since Harry Truman recognized the Jewish state in 1948. And Israeli leaders have thanked Biden for it. But the president of the Arab American Institute called it disappointing, saying he was hoping to hear a call for restraint and for a ceasefire, bringing an end to the violence. Though to be clear, the Institute does not condone Hamas's actions either. More than 1,200 Israeli citizens have been killed since the attacks began, as well as at least 900 Palestinians and at least 14 Americans. And most of the deaths on both sides have been civilians. President Biden also confirmed U.S. citizens are among the hostages being held by Hamas. Now, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is planning to travel to Israel this week as a show of support, and that means he's going to get a close look at an all-out war. Already, Israel has been launching retaliatory airstrikes, wiping out Hamas hideouts and weapons depots, as well as homes, offices, mosques, health facilities, and schools. And the only way out of Gaza was shut down yesterday because of a nearby airstrike. You'll remember Hamas militants promised to execute a hostage for every home in Gaza hit without warning. But as of early this morning at least, there's no sign they've already done so. As for what comes next, Israel's military says it's launching a ground attack soon, which is unfortunately expected to bring a lot more casualties. United Nations has called on all parties to stop targeting civilians and urged peace. To be continued. A powerful hurricane made landfall near the Mexican resort town of Puerto Vallarta as a Category 4 hurricane that was called extremely dangerous. The airport there shut down, tourists sheltered in their hotels, businesses closed, and residents boarded up windows to prepare for the 140-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rains that led to some flooding. The Hurricane Center also warned of life-threatening surf and rip currents along the west coast of Mexico. At last check, Hurricane Lydia has weakened to a tropical storm and is expected to continue to weaken even more as it continues to move inland. U.S. Congressman George Santos is facing some serious new allegations. We've told you he is already facing criminal charges that accuse him of embezzling money from his campaign and lying to Congress. Well, yesterday, he was hit with 10 new federal charges. The new indictment accuses Santos of stealing the identities of his campaign donors and racking up tens of thousands of dollars on their credit cards without their authorization, and lying to the Federal Election Commission about his campaign's fundraising numbers. Santos pleaded not guilty to his original charges and is expected to do the same with these. Meanwhile, the congressman is still facing calls to step down from office, which started last year when it came out that he lied about his personal backstory. But again yesterday, Santos said he has no plans to resign and he is still running for re-election. Though he now has a big-name politician running against him. Former Democratic Congressman Tom Suozzi, who had that seat before Santos, announced he's going to be running again. There are also Republicans who plan to run against Santos in the primaries. Stay tuned. It seems like the U.S. House could be without a speaker and effectively powerless for a while longer. House Republicans held a closed-door meeting yesterday where the top two contenders, Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan, made their pitches for the top job. But after that meeting, several members of Congress told reporters neither one of them is even close to having the votes needed to secure the speakership. Republicans are still planning to hold a vote this morning on who should take the gavel. But lawmakers have warned it's going to be chaos. And every day without a speaker is a day the House is paralyzed, making it impossible for Congress to send new aid to Israel or Ukraine. It also puts the country on track for a government shutdown, since lawmakers need to pass another spending bill by next month. So, what's the backup plan? Well, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who was just voted out of the role, said he'd be willing to serve as Speaker again. Former President Trump has said the same, though that would only be a temporary solution. And then there are some members who say they'll just have to change the rules to get someone new in. New data shows long-term cases of COVID-19 are still pretty rare in children. For example, when it comes to long COVID, the CDC found only 0.5% of children now have it. And it says it's even more rare in children younger than 12. By comparison, the CDC found nearly 7% of adults have experienced long COVID, and about half of them still have it. Children seem to be doing better than most adults when it comes to hospitalizations as well. Last month, the American Academy of Pediatrics found children accounted for about 6% of all COVID-19 hospital admissions. Whereas the CDC says so far this year, seniors have made up almost 63% of all COVID-19 related hospitalizations, an even larger percentage than the last couple of years. All right, we have more news for you still coming up. But first, support for today's episode comes from Copilot. I'll admit it, juggling family time, work time, and finding time for myself can be a bit of a struggle. And exercising like I used to has just not been happening. But I'm finally getting consistent with my workouts again, thanks to Copilot. The Copilot app offers a connection to a real-life trainer from the comfort and convenience of my home. My trainer, Megan, made me personalized workout plans based on my body and my current lifestyle. Plus, it's so motivating having her on my team now, cheering me on. It adds in accountability that I didn't even realize I needed, but makes all the difference. I'd love for you to follow my lead to get fit and feel fabulous. Give Copilot a try to find out why it was listed by Forbes as the top-rated personal trainer app of 2023. Head to go.mycopilot.com/newsworthy to get a 14-day free trial with your own personal trainer. That's go.mycopilot.com/newsworthy to get a free 14-day trial with your very own personal trainer. Take a back seat and let Copilot help you reach your fitness goals. Okay, now back to the news. New and improved chickens could be on the way. In a scientific first, researchers in the UK use gene editing technology to create poultry that's more resistant to bird flu. Researchers infected them with a low dose of bird flu and found they were almost entirely resistant to getting infected. This could have some big benefits. For example, saving chickens' lives, money, and the food supply. And that's especially of interest now since bird flu wiped out tens of millions of chickens over the past 2 years. Still, this is only a first step. Researchers still want to figure out if creating new chickens comes with any unintended consequences, like if bird flu ends up mutating. They also want to learn how eating gene-edited chicken could impact people. Heads up, if you see something on X, formerly Twitter, about the war between Israel and Hamas, you might want to confirm it elsewhere too. Researchers, news outlets, and other groups have documented a lot of misinformation and disinformation circulating on the platform, everything from fake White House press releases to fake news reports to videos recycled from unrelated conflicts or even video games. Plus, X is accused of allowing violent and terrorist content to spread. And now European officials are telling the company to do a better job or face penalties. The European Union has a new law about moderating content online. And if the EU finds X violated that law, the social media platform could face billions of dollars in fines or a total blackout in the EU. Well, X's owner, Elon Musk, responded with a post on X to say his company's policy is that everything is open source and transparent, possibly referring to the fact that X does allow most content to stay up, but with notes of context. And X has also removed newly created accounts that were affiliated with Hamas. Still, Musk has been facing a lot of scrutiny since he gutted the company's content moderation team and abandoned the old blue check verification system for trusted accounts. Now the EU is demanding an official response by today to explain how X plans to address all these issues. The state of Utah is now suing the video sharing app TikTok. The lawsuit accuses TikTok of hurting children by purposely getting them to spend unhealthy amounts of time on the app. It points to TikTok's powerful algorithms and design features. Utah's attorney general says they mimic what he called cruel slot machines. He says this impacts kids' mental health, physical development, family, and social life. Already, Indiana and Arkansas have brought similar lawsuits. But TikTok is defending itself, saying it already has safeguards for young people. It points to an automatic 1-hour time limit for anyone under 18 and parental controls for teen accounts. So stay tuned. If you logged into a personal Google account yesterday, you might have noticed a change. The tech giant started going passwordless by default. So instead of using your password to log in, you use what's called a passkey. That could be a PIN, face scan, or fingerprint. Google says passkeys are easier, quicker, and more secure. And the company is hoping to make passwords obsolete eventually. But for now, if you still want to log into your Google account with a traditional password, you can do so. You'll just have to change the settings. This week, someone might end up winning the second largest lottery prize in American history. No one has won the Powerball jackpot in the last 35 drawings. So now, that jackpot has topped $1.7 billion. The odds of winning that jackpot, by the way, 1 in 292 million. The next drawing is set for tonight. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, this podcast is sponsored by Lumi. Lumi is the world's best whole-body deodorant. It is now my personal favorite deodorant, but if you want more proof, Lumi has it. It's clinically proven to control odor-causing bacteria everywhere for 72 hours. I love that it's aluminum-free and paraben-free, goes on easy and clear, and most importantly, has worked to keep me smelling fresh and clean. You can choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents as well, like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. I even love their body wash as well as their on-the-go deodorant wipes that are great for anywhere on your body, from pits to feet and beyond. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers too. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like that mini body wash and deodorant wipes I mentioned, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with the code NEWSWORTHY at LumiDeodorant.com. That's LUME deodorant.com. It equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit LumiDeodorant.com and use the code NEWSWORTHY. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. So if you were hoping for a big raise next year, you might be out of luck. 2 recent surveys found employers are going to be handing out smaller merit-based raises next year than they did these last couple of years. Specifically, HR consulting firm Mercer found companies are budgeting for an average of 3.5% raises in 2024, whereas this year the average was closer to 4%. Promotions might be harder to come by too. So what gives? Well, Mercer found the budget for raises is down for a few reasons. First, there's still a lot of economic uncertainty. Also, not as many people are quitting their jobs these days, so companies aren't feeling as much pressure to keep their employees happy with salary bumps. But big raises actually might not be quite as necessary next year, since inflation seems to be slowing down. By the way, compensation budgets for next year won't be finalized until December, so companies could end up offering bigger or smaller raises depending on what happens with the economy and the job market between now and then. Well, thank you so much for joining us and listening today. We'll be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.